A very warm good morning here on DD India. We are back again with another edition of Breakfast News. I am Anil Thomas and with me is Nancy Kohli this morning. Nancy, good morning.
Good morning, Anil. How are you doing?
Well, doing perfectly fine. Over the next 60 minutes, we'll get you the latest from the world of business, politics, also loads of action from the world of sports and French Open in particular. We'll take a look at all that, especially the passing away of Union Minister Vilas Paswan will be the top focus of the day, along with the monetary policy that will be announced by the RBI. Loads to look forward to in the next 60 minutes. But what else do we have today?
Absolutely. We'll also be getting you sports and health stories of the day. But first, a look at the top stories.
Veteran leader and Union Minister for Food and Consumer Affairs Vilas Paswan passes away. Paswan, a 9-time Parliament member, to be accorded state funeral, national flag fly half-mast.
Nominations for the second phase of the Bihar Assembly Elections begin today. The filing of nominations have ended for the first phase of elections beginning on 20th of October. The three-phase elections begin from the 28th of October. In the first phase, elections will be held in 71 seats, in the second phase 94, and in the last phase polling will be held in 78 assembly constituencies.
The Reserve Bank of India is to announce its bi-monthly monetary policy address this morning. Earlier this week, the government appointed three eminent economists, Ashima Goyal, Jayant Verma and Shashank Bide as members of the MPC.
Prime Minister Modi asserts India is an ideal investment destination. Addressing the Invest India conference in Canada virtually, Prime Minister Modi says the government has undertaken steps and reforms to create a conducive investment ecosystem.
BJP stages massive protest in Kolkata against the killings of party workers in the state. Police lathi charged the party workers marching towards the state secretariat. BJP calls the killings and the police action as murder of democracy.
The chairman of the High Council for National Reconciliation of Afghanistan, Abdullah Abdullah, calls on Prime Minister Modi, briefs him about the ongoing peace process. Prime Minister Modi reaffirms India's commitment towards sustainable peace in Afghanistan.
India's fight against COVID-19 continues. New recoveries in India have exceeded the new cases for 3 consecutive weeks unabated. Over 58 lakh people recover as the recovery rate crosses 85%. India tops the world in numbers of recoveries from the infection.
In sports news, Iga Swiatek and Sofia Kenin will meet in the Women's French Open final. In the men's semi-final, Nadal will take on Diego Schwartzman. Djokovic will then follow, meeting the Greek 22-year-old Stefanos Tsitsipas. And we'll of course get you all the updates in the next 1 hour, but beginning first with the news of the demise of the Union Minister Vilas Paswan. Of course, he passed away on Thursday evening, and his son Chirag Paswan had then informed about the demise of his father. In fact, condolences since then have been pouring in. We'll also be getting you more details about his entire political career and of course his contribution as well to the politics and of course the country as well. But first, let's begin.
Yes, a Union Minister who served since 1996 with every Prime Minister, also a veteran parliamentarian when it comes to 9 times being Member of Parliament. He passed away on Thursday evening. His son Chirag Paswan shared the news on his Twitter account. 74-year-old Vilas Paswan, who was a Union Minister for Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution, was in active politics for more than 5 decades. For the past few weeks, he was hospitalized and was operated upon at a hospital in the national capital. Informing about his father's death, Lok Jan Shakti Party chief Chirag Paswan tweeted, "Papa, now you are not in this world, but I know you are always with me wherever you are. Miss you, Papa." This was a tweet by Chirag Paswan, who's now the leader of the LJP party. Well, the mortal remains of the Union Minister will be kept at his residence to pay the last respects. Later, the mortal remains will be flown to Patna. The last rites of the late Union Minister will be held tomorrow with state honours. Meanwhile, the national flag will be flown at half-mast today in Delhi as well as other states and union territories where it is regularly flown. The national flag will also be flown at half-mast on the day of funeral of the late Union Minister at the place where his last rites will take place.
Union Minister and LJP patriarch Vilas Paswan was serving as the Union Minister of Food and Public Distribution in the Modi-led government. An 8-time member of Parliament in the Lok Sabha, Paswan had served as a Union Minister under 5 Prime Ministers, and his party has been a member of all the national coalitions. Paswan went to jail during the Indira Gandhi's tenure when an emergency was imposed in the country. 1969 became a member of the Bihar Legislative Assembly. Paswan was elected to Lok Sabha for the first time in 1977 as a Janata Party member and was re-elected for 5 consecutive times from Hajipur constituency in Bihar. He had formed the LJP in 2000 and joined the Congress-led UPA in 2004. He hailed from Sheharbani village in Khagadia district of Bihar. His son Chirag Paswan currently leads the LJP.
Well, condoling the demise of Vilas Paswan, President Ramnath Kovind in a tweet said, and I quote, "In the demise of Union Minister Vilas Paswan, the nation has lost a visionary leader. He was among the most active and longest-serving members of Parliament. He was the voice of the oppressed and championed the cause of the marginalized." Well, the President there tweeting on hearing the news about the demise of Union Minister Vilas Paswan, calling him the voice of the oppressed and championing the cause of the marginalized and a visionary leader. Vice President Venkaiah Naidu expressed grief over the demise of Union Minister Vilas Paswan. In a tweet, the Vice President said, and I quote, "Deeply anguished by the demise of Union Minister Shri Vilas Paswan ji, he was an exemplary leader who served the people and the nation till his last breath. He was a distinguished parliamentarian and always strove for the empowerment of the marginalized. His death is a personal loss to me, as I've had a long and enriching association with him, full of many pleasant memories that I deeply cherish. My deepest condolences to the bereaved family members. Om Shanti."
And Prime Minister Modi has expressed remorse over the death of Vilas Paswan. He's tweeted, I quote, "I am saddened beyond words. There is a void in our nation that will perhaps never be filled. Vilas Paswan ji's demise is a personal loss. I have lost a friend, a valued colleague, and someone who was extremely passionate to ensure every poor person leads a life of dignity," unquote.
Well, union ministers and leaders cutting across the party line condole the demise of Union Minister Vilas Paswan.
पासवान जी का निधन एक बेहद ही दुखद समाचार है। वो जिंदगी भर दलित, पिछड़े सभी समूहों के लिए लड़ते थे। मंत्रिमंडल में वो बहुत सक्रिय रहते थे। जिंदगी उन्होंने इन्हीं विषयों के लिए खपा दी। प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी पर उनका बहुत विश्वास था और हमेशा उनकी तारीफ वो करते थे।
तो हम लोग के संबंध बिहार के नाते, जेपी मूवमेंट के नाते, संसद में, सरकार में एक बड़े भाई के रूप में उनका स्नेह और आशीर्वाद मिलता था। तो हम सभी दुखी हैं, देश दुखी है, बिहार दुखी है। मेरी बहुत विनम्र श्रद्धांजलि है। देश ने अपना एक बहुत ही सच्चा सपूत खो दिया। ओम शांति।
बड़े आत्मीय और विनम्र स्वभाव के, उनके लिए कुछ कहना मुश्किल है। इतने सुंदर और हर प्रकार से सबको प्रेम भाव से बात करना, एक ऐसे नेता जो गरीबों के लिए बराबर संघर्ष करते रहे, और बिहार का और देश का बहुत बड़ी क्षति हुआ है। मैं ऐसे नेतृत्व, ऐसे नेता को मैं विनम्र श्रद्धांजलि भी अर्पित कर रहा हूँ, और भगवान से प्रार्थना करता हूँ कि उनकी आत्मा को कुछ शांति प्रदान करते हुए उनके पूरे परिजन को भगवान उन्हें इस दुख की घड़ी में धैर्य और साहस दें। हम सभी उनके साथ हैं।
विलास पासवान के निधन से बहुत ही दुख हुआ। वो बहुत नेक आदमी थे, अच्छे आदमी थे। पिछले 4 दशकों से मैं उनको जानता था। कभी हम विपक्ष में रहे, कभी वो विपक्ष में रहे, और कभी हम साथ इकट्ठे भी सरकारों में रहे, और डाउन टू अर्थ है। हमेशा जो गरीब लोग हैं, चाहे वो किसी भी समुदाय के हों, उनकी हमेशा मदद करते थे।
श्री रामविलास पासवान जी के दुखद निधन का समाचार अब से कुछ देर पूर्व प्राप्त हुआ है। पूरा देश दुखी है, और बिहार तो पूरी तरह से इस समाचार को सुनकर सदमे में है। केंद्र में चाहे रेल मंत्री के नाते हो, टेली कम्युनिकेशन हो, स्टील हो, हर विभाग पर उन्होंने अपनी एक छाप छोड़ी है, और जिस भी विभाग में रहे बिहार के विकास के लिए हमेशा लड़ते रहे, और बिहार के लिए उनका इतना बड़ा योगदान है कि बिहार कभी रामविलास पासवान के योगदान को भूल नहीं सकता है।
We have lost a prominent leader in the national politics for over 4 decades in the demise of the Union Minister Vilas Paswan. We'll be talking more about his contribution. Let's go across to our guest, Mr. R. Rajagopalan, senior journalist, joining us here on DD India this morning. Good morning, Mr. Rajagopalan. There, of course, we are hearing a lot about his contribution to the national politics, the Bihar politics, and of course his contribution to working for the marginalized. How is the entire nation today remembering him, and of course a huge void that will always be felt in the Indian politics?
The nation remembers Mr. Vilas Paswan as a tall leader of Dalit. He was the face of Dalit movement after Babu Jagajeevan Ram. And my understanding is Mr. Vilas Paswan, a product of Jayaprakash Narayan movement. I have known him more than 30 years. What Mr. Ghulam Nabi Azad, the Congress leader, has said now is very apt tribute. And moreover, the Prime Minister, President, Vice President, all have given their, every one of them have interacted with him, have, had the experience with him, and had spent time with him. And moreover, he has, during his lifetime, created an awareness for Dalit movement in India.
Yes.
Be it Bihar, be it, any part of the country, he was the face of Dalit. We pay our respects to the departed soul. The reason being, he is a core politician. And for Bihar, he, as Mr. Sushil Modi has described just now in his tribute in Doordarshan, Mr. Sushil Modi is very apt. He has seen 18 ministries, I counted yesterday. And today newspapers have given huge tribute to the departed soul. Now we leave his memories behind, and he has created a next line of leadership in his party. Very recently his brother died. Now he's himself passed away. He has created a leadership in his son, Chirag Paswan. Whatever that, 2 times he was in the member of parliament. He has ensured, that is Chirag Paswan. Mr. Vilas Paswan, many of the viewers do not know, madam, during Devagowda's time and Inder Kumar Gujarat time, he was the leader of the house. He was also to be promoted as pro tem speaker, but he was such a senior personality in the parliament, and whenever he rose to speak in parliament, whenever I done my question hour as a correspondent of many national diaries, I said, Mr. Vilas Paswan has a clarity in answering the questions. The reason being, he understands the subject. Whichever department, you give him, he will ensure that Bihar comes first and Dalit downtrodden come first. For example, he was steel minister. He devoted his time for steel ministry. He understood the subject. He was very close to the bureaucrats and he gave freedom to the bureaucrats. Therefore, his administration was also superb. My understanding of Mr. Ramvilas Paswan is, I lost a personal friend, the nation lost a personal friend, especially for the Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi. After he assumed office, he lost many of his ministerial colleagues like Arun Jaitley, Sushma Swaraj, Gopinath Munde, Manohar Parrikar, Ramvilas Paswan. What is happening? Because it is the type of nature, you cannot avoid that. One who gives birth, they always, pass away after a period of their, innings. Ramvilas Paswan is a great soul. Ram Manohar Lohia, the ideologies of Socialist Party, Mr. Ramvilas Paswan was ensuring that ye log bhi kehte the, I want to shift to Hindi because for a minute, madam. Kyunki wo Logia log kehte the, Logia log kehte the. Many do not know that. Only few journalists like me, having put in more, in the parliament, Ram Manohar Lohia, he was much closer to them. Sharad Yadav, Lalu Yadav, and Ramvilas Paswan. They were much close to VP Singh, Vishwanath Pratap Singh, when he was minister, about this, Mandal agitation, it is Ramvilas Paswan's brainchild. Therefore, he contributed much. As Ravi Shankar Prasad paid tribute much to the needs of the latest, Narendra Modi Saab has picked up Mr. Ramvilas Paswan for the last 7 years. He was guided by Narendra Modi was guided by Mr. Ramvilas Paswan. We lost a very great soul who worked for the downtrodden Dalit, Pichhle, Dalit, सब लोग का बहुत दुखी का दिन है आज.
Mr. Rajgopalan, good morning. Taking Nancy's question forward, does he leave behind, a void in politics that's near impossible to fill?
Of course, yes. No one can fill his, this vacuum. The reason being, he was a tall leader. He was groomed by many tall leaders. You do not know, Nancy, madam. I have seen Karpuri Thakur holding his Ramvilas Paswan's finger. Used to डांटते थे उसको. कितना राजनीतिक में इसको बढ़ाया है Karpuri Thakur, and even Lalu Prasad had helped him to come up in the life, and he taught some sort of jointly they created an awareness for Dalit movement. They were all, Bihar has contributed much leadership to the country, like Rajendra Prasad and many tall leaders, and Ramvilas Paswan in that legacy. I could compare Rajendra Prasad and next is Ramvilas Paswan after Karpuri Thakur. Karpuri Thakur was a very great leader of social movement, socialist movement, and apart from that, Mr. Ramvilas Paswan's ideology merged with Modi's ideology, like Ram Mandir. Though he was fighting for it, at the later stage he could realize that this was the changing of scenario. He went with the youngsters.
Absolutely.
That is one more important one.
Yes.
He was giving work. He was also technologically, he was very good. Whenever he operated WhatsApp, etc., he used to send me WhatsApp sometimes. So he was true to his leadership, and he has helped lots of Dalit downtrodden.
Yes. Mr. Rajagopalan, you are saying true to his leadership, and I would like to talk a bit about his persona as well. He was a distinguished parliamentarian. He strove for the upliftment of the marginalized. He was often considered a kingmaker in Bihar politics. He was very approachable and affable leader. Talking a bit about the persona that we have lost.
Persona is, he was much closer to Sonia Gandhi. I know that because they were, neighbors, 10 Janpath, 12 Janpath in Delhi. For the last 20 years, Mr. Ramvilas Paswan has been occupying the same house, 12 Janpath. Very, very interesting, combination of, he was a, neighbor of Madam Sonia Gandhi. Therefore, they could understand. He has a tall persona in Indian politics. As you asked me, Nancy, madam, Mr. Ramvilas Paswan, well-read personality, though he was understanding this Dalit politics at the same time, he could also ensure that Brahmins in certain sector, upper caste in certain sector should also be accommodated. Therefore, the 10% reservation for economically weaker, backward, upper class brought by Mr. Narendra Modi was initiated by Mr. Ramvilas Paswan only. Therefore, today's tribute in
Sure.
most of the
Yes.
editorials have written,
Yes.
and it is a best tribute to Mr.
Right.
Ramvilas
Okay.
Paswan. I stand in a minute of silence for his departed soul.
Okay, one quick word before I let you go. Very briefly, Mr. Rajgopalan, when you look at Bihar going for elections and Ramvilas Paswan's passing away, and LJP leadership now in the hand of Chirag Paswan, is that two big shoes for Chirag Paswan to fill in at this point of time, especially when you're into the election season?
30%. Yes, I agree with your question. 30% he has come up in his life. 70% he has age. He has time before it. This election is not the final for Chirag Paswan.
Okay.
This election he may be joining anti-Nitish Kumar feeling, but at the same time, Mr. Chirag Paswan has been groomed well by Mr. Ramvilas Paswan. We have to give credit to Mr. Ramvilas Paswan's leadership. Whatever that politics now, the Bihar is going to the next generation, from Ramvilas Paswan to Chirag Paswan type. Like, Tejasvi Yadav from Lalu Yadav. So younger generation in Bihar, especially Ramvilas Paswan, were very well versed with English. Similarly, Chirag Paswan, he has a foothold in the cinema industry. Therefore, Mr. Chirag Paswan, whenever he entered parliament, he could come with only his father. Therefore, he followed the father's footsteps. He should learn. And to answer your question, 30 to 40% of the legacy of Mr. Ramvilas Paswan has been taken over by Mr. Chirag Paswan. In Bihar elections, yes, it will be an emotive issue. There will be a swing of 0.5% or 1% vote towards LJP, which we can't rule it out because of the sympathy factor.
Right. All right, Mr. Rajagopalan, thanks very much for joining us for the moment here on D-Day India and sharing your perspective as far as the contribution and the legacy that, of course, has been left behind after the demise of the Union Minister, Ramvilas Paswan. With that,
over 50 years of contribution, active contribution
Absolutely.
in politics, a 9-time parliamentarian, has worked with every prime minister since 1996. So he's got a long, when you look at his, the pedigree or the things that he's done, especially as a minister, serving so many prime ministers, had immense years of experience, both in Delhi as well as in Bihar. A tall Dalit leader, no more with us today. We pay our respects to him and slip into a short breather here on Breakfast News. Stay tuned for more.
महात्मा के मंत्र। खुद वो बदलाव बनिए जो आप दुनिया में देखना चाहते हैं।
Welcome back on Breakfast News once again. Staying with Bihar, but shifting focus now to Bihar Assembly election that goes to poll on the 28th of October. Let's now take a look at the nomination for the second phase of Assembly elections in Bihar that starts from today. Nominations will be allowed till the 16th of October. Scrutiny of the nominations for the first phase will take place today. 12th October is the last date for withdrawal of nominations for the first phase. Political parties are in the process of issuing their list of candidates for the three-phase Bihar Assembly polls.
Hectic political activities are on in Bihar with nominations for the first phase of polling on 71 seats closing on Thursday. The scrutiny of the nominations will take place on Friday. 12th October is the last date for withdrawal of nominations for phase 1. Polling will take place on these seats on 28th of October. Parties are in the process of issuing candidate lists for the three-phase Bihar Assembly polls. Lok Janshakti Party issued its first list of 42 candidates on Thursday. It has opted to fight the elections alone and not under the NDA banner this time. Amidst all this, the BJP has asserted that in Bihar, 4 parties have come together under the NDA umbrella and the alliance will win once again.
NDA में BJP है, JDU है और विकासशील इंसान पार्टी है। ये साफ कर दिया गया है, तो इसलिए दोबारा इस सवाल को उठाने का मतलब नहीं है।
नीतीश कुमार जी के नेतृत्व में लड़ रहे हैं। निश्चित तौर पर नीतीश कुमार जी बिहार के मुख्यमंत्री बनेंगे। अपार बहुमत से भारतीय जनता पार्टी, जदयू, मुकेश सहनी जी की पार्टी और मांझी जी की पार्टी मिलकर चुनाव जीतेगी और फिर से बिहार में विकास की धारा जो बह रही है उसको आगे नीतीश कुमार जी के नेतृत्व में बढ़ाएंगे।
Janata Dal United, RJD and Congress have also issued their candidate lists. Party hopping is also being seen, with leaders changing home turf to get tickets. Some BJP workers have switched over to LJP. In an interesting turn of events, former DGP of Bihar, Gupteshwar Pandey, who recently took VRS to join JDU, hasn't got a ticket. He told the press that he will carry out any responsibility given to him by the party.
चुनाव लड़ने की संभावना थी, मैं हमेशा कहता रहा चुनाव में लड़ सकता था, किसी कारणवश ये समीकरण नहीं बैठा। राजनीति में बहुत सारी मजबूरियां होती हैं।
The 71 seats that go to the poll in phase 1 saw JDU bagging 18 seats, BJP 13, RJD 27 and Congress 9 seats in the 2015 assembly polls. DD India.
And for more updates on the elections there that of course will take place in Bihar on 28th of this month, let's go across to our correspondent Salman Haider is joining us with more updates on that. Salman, good morning. First of all, the political developments that you're picking up from the state there ahead of elections, and of course the unfortunate news that came in last evening about the demise of Vilas Paswan. Of course, he was considered a kingmaker in the Bihar elections. So what somber mood there across the state as far as, the loss of the leader that we're all feeling today?
Yeah, Nancy, of course, there would be some shifting in votes, and sympathy is bound to come to LJP, no doubt. But things are mostly the division of votes on the basis of ideologies and caste and social matrix are there, and there would be the conflict of ideologies among the fronts. Let us see how much Chirag Paswan is capable of garnering during the this changed situation. Meanwhile, 6 parties have formed a secular front yesterday that has been named as Grand Democratic Front. This includes RLSP of Upendra Kushwaha, AIMIM of Asaduddin Awaisi, and the Samajwadi Janata Dal, Jantantric Party, Socialist and Bahujan Samaj Party. So this is one more front, and as you know, NDA and Grand Alliance or Mahagathbandhan are already there. So the division of votes is there, and meanwhile the nomination process for 94 constituencies of the second phase is starting today. So these are the things, now things are shaping up, and electioneering is very slowly picking up also. Now the Paswan's native village Aloli is going to be in the election in second phase only. So there would be a great impact on the votes. So the situation are there in favor of.
Okay, there is an emotive phase, especially in Bihar politics, when it comes to the demise of Union Minister Vilas Paswan. But looking at Bihar elections, do you feel this time around, with the pandemic around, parties will have, parties have got an extended time when it comes to naming their, star campaigners. But do you see fewer star campaigners hitting the road this time in Bihar Assembly elections?
Yes, and Election Commission also has put a restriction. It has lessened the number of star campaigners for big national parties from 30 to 20, and for smaller parties it is from 20 to 50. So star campaigners would be there, but as far as now, there is not much star campaigners presence in the electioneering itself. So let us see what happens in coming days.
Okay.
Yes, Anil.
Okay. All right, Salman Haider, thanks very much for joining us for the moment and sharing all the updates as far as the political developments that are taking place in Bihar is concerned ahead of the assembly elections.
Well, exactly. 3 phases of polling in Bihar. The first phase on October 20th, the second on 3rd, the final phase of polling on 7th, with a counting of votes expected to take place on the 10th of November.
Yes, we'll keep tracking developments on that front, but moving on now for the time being, Prime Minister Narendra Modi in a keynote address at the Invest India conference in Canada on Thursday highlighted the rapid strides that India has been taking because of structural reforms. He said there is a change in the mindset and the markets. He particularly highlighted the reforms in labour, education and agriculture and termed them as trinity of reforms.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi delivered the keynote address at the Invest India conference in Canada through video conferencing on Thursday. Inviting the Canadian investors to India, Prime Minister assured that there will be no barriers for them in India and they will find themselves as welcomed as in their nation.
We want to ensure high level attention and effective hand-holding for investors. For these, a dedicated, empowered group of secretaries has been made. We are proactively monetizing assets across sectors: airports, railways, highways, power transmission lines, so many.
PM pitched India as an ideal investment destination and listed many areas that it provides the best investment destination.
There is an opportunity for everyone: institutional investors, manufacturers, supporters of innovations, ecosystems, and infrastructure companies. There is an opportunity to invest, to set up units and to run businesses. There is an opportunity to partner with our private sector and with the governments. There is an opportunity to earn as well as learn.
Prime Minister underlined the rapid strides that the nation is taking in bringing structural reforms, adding that India is also undergoing a rapid change in mindset and markets. He added that it has embarked on a journey of deregulation and decriminalization of various offences under the Companies Act. He also highlighted three major reforms that the government has undertaken recently, calling the trinity of reforms.
India has adopted a unique approach posed by the COVID-19 pandemic. We have given relief and stimulus package for the poor and the small businesses. But we have also used this opportunity to undertake structural reforms. These reforms ensure more productivity and prosperity. India has undertaken a trinity of reforms in the field of education, labor and agriculture.
PM added that existing investors can be brand ambassadors for India.
Mature Canadian investors who have been in India for many years now can be our best brand ambassadors. Their own experience, their plan to expand and diversify can be the most credible evidence for all of you to come here too. In addition, you have the benefit of knowing India well. After all, Canada has one of the largest Indian diaspora in the world.
Prime Minister also mentioned the strong people-to-people ties that culturally bind the two nations. The forum is giving Canadian business community a first-hand perspective of opportunities to invest in India and showcase India as an investment destination. Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, Chairman of the High Council of National Reconciliation of Afghanistan, Dr. Abdullah will meet External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar today. On Thursday, he met the Prime Minister Narendra Modi. In keeping with the government's policy of neighbourhood first, the Prime Minister reaffirmed India's long-term commitment to further deepening the historic ties between India and Afghanistan. The two leaders discussed issues of bilateral and regional interest. Dr. Abdullah briefed the Prime Minister on the Afghan peace reforms and the ongoing talks in Doha. Bilateral issues, including India's development cooperation with Afghanistan, were also discussed.
The The state unit of the Bharatiya Janata Party staged a huge protest in Kolkata yesterday against the killings of party workers in the state. However, the protest was intercepted by the police, who lathi-charged the party workers who were making their way towards the state secretariat. The party has called the killings and the police action a murder of democracy.
West Bengal police lathi-charged BJP demonstrators in Kolkata, threw tear gas shells, used water cannons. All of this to suppress peaceful demonstration against political violence against BJP workers. On Thursday, BJP launched Nabana Chalo agitation to protest against the issue of targeted political violence against BJP leaders and workers. Leaders including Kailash Vijayvargiya, Lockhart Chatterjee, Mukul Roy and others participated in the march. There was a clash between party workers and the police while the latter tried to stop the march. BJP claims they were on a peaceful march but stones were pelted on them. State BJP chief Dilip Ghosh led the protest from Kolkata party office to Nabanna. During the clash, BJP National General Secretary Arvind Menon, State Vice President Raju Banerjee and many leaders and supporters got injured. BJP has accused West Bengal administration of scheming to defuse the protest march by arresting several party workers in the past couple of days. BJP claims there is no democracy in West Bengal and CM Mamata Banerjee is scared of people surprising.
ये शांतिपूर्वक जो आंदोलन चल रहा था, एक जुलूस चल रहा था नवाना की तरफ, यहाँ बैरिकेड लगी हुई है, हम लोग खड़े थे, जल कमान चला पूरा तब थे, हम लोग शाउटिंग कर रहे थे, अचानक पुलिस वाले ने अटैक किया, अपने कार्यकर्ता के ऊपर अटैक किया, मेरे ऊपर 4-5 लोग गिर गए और सांबादिक जो है पत्रकार उनके ऊपर भी आक्रमण, उनको भी चोट लगी है, सर पर लगी है, पैर पर लगी है.
Democracy and constitutional rule of law was murdered by Mamata Banerjee government today in West Bengal. बंगाल में आज भारत का भ्रष्टतम सरकार आज बंगाल में है. In the past 2 years, more than 120 कार्यकर्तास of the Bharatiya Janata Party and the Bharatiya Janata Yuva Morcha have been murdered in a very barbaric and callous manner in the state. ये संघर्ष का अभी तो प्रारंभ है. ममता दीदी युवा मोर्चा से डर चुके हैं.
News of clashes were also reported from other allies. There were 4 major protest rallies organized by the BJP in West Bengal. 3 of the 4 rallies were organized in Kolkata. Heavy police deployment was made to stop the march. Roads were barricaded. Secretariat at Howrah was shut for a couple of days. Meanwhile, state government cited COVID precautions to enforce Section 144 and Disaster Management Act. BJP launched a scathing attack on Mamata government for her stance on the protest.
ये बहुत विनम्रता से कहना चाहते हैं ममता जी और टीएमसी को कि अगर आपको लगता है कि लाठी से और पुलिसिया दमन से आप भाजपा के विस्तार को बंगाल में रोक लेंगी तो आप इसमें सफल नहीं होंगी.
Condemning the police action against party workers, BJP chief JP Nadda tweeted and said, Mamata Banerjee's Karyakartas and the government machinery led by her have unleashed brute force upon BJP Karyakartas in an attempt to prevent them from holding protests against her tyrannical and bloodied misrule in West Bengal. Such misuse of power is totally unacceptable and condemnable. BJP has said their protest is driven by a 7-point agenda against the state government for issues like alleged corruption, dearth of transparency in SSC TET recruitment, unemployment, political killings of BJP workers, political atrocities on opposition leaders. Thursday's incident is expected to lead to rise in political temperature and bigger protests in the coming days. With Kolkata Bureau, Shailendra Mishra in Delhi, DD India.
Well, brute force being used in the heart of the city in West Bengal. Well, moving on now, taking an update on COVID-19 from across the country. India has crossed a significant milestone. The national recovery rate has jumped over 85% with the continuous streak of high number of recovered cases being reported in the past few weeks. India has the highest number of recoveries from the infection in the world. The recovered cases have exceeded the new confirmed again on Thursday. 83,011 recoveries being registered on Thursday. The total number of recoveries now standing at 58,27,704. This is due to sustained India's global position at the country with the maximum number of recoveries. The sustained high level of recoveries have led to further widening of the gap between active and recovered cases. The active caseload of the country has further slid to 13.20% of the total positive cases and is consistently on the decline.
And with all the updates, let's now move on to our next section and get you news from across the globe. US President Donald Trump's physician has said that the president had completed his course of therapy for COVID-19 and had remained stable since returning to the White House and could return to public engagements from tomorrow. Dr. Sean Conley said in a memo released by the White House that Trump had responded extremely well to the treatment. The letter comes after President Trump had refused to participate in a virtual debate. The second presidential debate between Trump and his Democratic rival Joe Biden is also scheduled for the 15th. His words came moments after the commission that oversees the debate said that the event would be conducted from remote locations in the wake of his COVID-19 diagnosis.
Well, time now to take a look at updates on COVID-19 from across the world. As per the latest update, over 10,66,000 people have died worldwide due to COVID-19, while over 3,67 lakh COVID-19 cases have been reported across the world. As many as 2,76 lakh people have recovered from the virus so far. United States continues to top the list, being the worst hit country by the pandemic so far, with the highest number of COVID-19 infections and fatalities. Over 78 lakh cases being reported in the United States, while over 2,17,000 people have lost their lives due to COVID-19. In terms of death toll, Brazil stands second on the tally with over 1,49,000 people losing their lives in the South American nation.
The American poet Louis Gluck has won the 2020 Nobel Prize in Literature for her unmistakable poetic voice that with austere beauty makes individual existence universal. The Swedish Academy said on Thursday, a professor at Yale University, she made her debut in 1968 with Firstborn and is seen as one of the most prominent poets in the American contemporary literature. Her poetry is characterized by a striving for clarity, the Academy said, with a focus on childhood, family life and close relationships between parents and siblings.
Well, time now to move to our next segment. After taking a look at all the international stories, it's time now to get you the latest from the world of web and social media. We have our next segment that's called Web Review.
And for the web news review, let's go across now to our colleague Arun Sharma. Arun, good morning. It's over to you. Just take us through what's really making news. What's what's really trending there on the web.
Good morning, Anil. Good morning, Nancy. Good morning, all our viewers. Well, yes, once again we are back with the web news review. So let's begin this segment with the news from Hindustan Times. Now, Hindustan Times has picked up this article, and primarily all the newspaper websites are carrying this news article, and this is about the sad demise of Union Minister Vilas Paswan. Now, it says that Union Minister Vilas Paswan passes away days after surgery. So importantly, all his lifetime achievements have been, penned down as far as Hindustan Times article is concerned. It says that Vilas Paswan primarily was elected to Lok Sabha 8 times. He has worked with close to 6 different prime ministers during his entire political career. He was widely accepted political leader, and of course, his achievement of, primarily of winning his constituency Hajipur with record margin is also being, highlighted as far as this article is concerned. Second important news item is from Times of India. Now, it says that ahead of the festival season, Prime Minister Modi launches the COVID Jan Andolan. Now, celebrities joins in as far as this Jan Andolan is concerned. The hashtag Unite to Fight Corona was trending, on the Twitter, for last more than 24 hours as far as this initiative is concerned. Bollywood celebrities, sports personalities, and various other celebrities have joined in this Jan Andolan, primarily a mass movement as far as Unite to Fight Corona is concerned. The third important news item is, of course, from the pink paper Mint. Now, all eyes are on Reserve Bank of India's monetary policy. So, Mint writes a news article which says that 4 things to watch out for as far as today's Reserve Bank of India's monetary policy is concerned. All eyes will be on the growth number and inflation number. We'll be waiting at what exactly Reserve Bank of India projects as far as the growth outlook or the inflation numbers are concerned. Second important part is what is the liquidity situation as of now. Everybody will be watching for, and of course, what is the growth, the stance as far as interest rate are concerned. Most of the experts do believe that the Reserve Bank of India will not be making any kind of changes as far as the interest rates are concerned. But yes, all eyes will be on that big Reserve Bank of India's monetary policy today. Next big article is from the Pioneer. Now, it says that airlines can operate 75% of pre-COVID domestic flight if flights are healthy. So that means the Ministry of Civil Aviation will be monitoring the situation for next 10 to 15 days, and if in case it finds it suitable, if the flying operations are happening normally, at that time, the flying permissions can be given up to 75% to the pre-COVID level. Now, the Ministry of Civil Aviation is also expecting that by the end of Diwali or by the end of November, we are also expected to touch the pre-COVID levels of 3 lakh passengers traveling on a daily basis as far as domestic travel is concerned. So yes, it's an important news article as far as Pioneer has printed, and most of the newspaper websites are carrying this article. Next article is from Economic Times. It says that power consumption shows double-digit growth during October first week. So Economic Times, this article also suggests that now signs of economic recovery are also clearly visible as far as various other economic indicators are concerned. So power consumption primarily is also witnessing double-digit growth. Last article is from the New Indian Express. It talks about the Baba Ka Dhaba in Malviya Nagar. A day before yesterday, primarily when the video got viral of this gentleman who was serving Matar Paneer. At that time, he was appealing people to eat his food. So when this video got viral yesterday, we saw many people reach this Malviya Nagar Baba Ka Dhaba. And now this article, the news article from the New Indian Express, clearly mentions, and it says that Delhi's Baba Ka Dhaba becomes famous, elderly couple now happy, and they're resting. So yes, this is the power of social media, that the Baba Ka Dhaba got famous overnight, and yes, people are thronging there just to have a taste of that Matar Paneer, primarily what he cooks over there. Well, that's it about the web news review, where all these articles were trending on these web news articles or web news websites primarily. So, but for the news, back to you, Anil and Nancy.
Nancy, that's a very positive story that Arun mentioned about, that Baba Ka Dhaba. I'm surely inspired that over the weekend, at least one, I would be trying to, go to that particular place and enjoy that Baba Ka Dhaba, because it's really an inspiring story and a positive impact of social media.
Absolutely. Well, thanks Arun for joining us and sharing with us the web news review. With that, let's move on now to our next segment and get you all the sporting action from the sports track.
Well, moving to French Open and red clay in Paris, American Sofia Kenin defeated Petra Kvitova in straight sets 6-4, 7-5 to reach the French Open final on Thursday evening. Kenin will attempt to capture a second Grand Slam of the year following her Australian Open triumph. Fourth seed Kenin will meet 19-year-old Iga Swiatek of Poland in Saturday's final after denying two-time Wimbledon champion Petra Kvitova in a bid for a third major. Polish teenager Iga Swiatek became the youngest player to reach the French Open women's final in 19 years when she crushed Argentinian qualifier Nadia Podroska 6-2, 6-1 on Thursday evening. Iga, the youngest player to reach the women's final at Roland Garros since Kim Clijsters in 2001.
And in the men's singles, Rafael Nadal goes for his 10th win in 11 tries versus Diego Schwartzman when the duo meet in the semi-finals today. Nadal is eyeing his 13th French Open championship and his record-tying 20th Grand Slam title. Schwartzman is making his first French Open semi-final appearance and seeking his first major title. Schwartzman, by contrast, notched his first victory in 10 attempts over Nadal a few weeks ago in Rome. And in the second semi-final, top seed Novak Djokovic will face 22-year-old Stefanos Tsitsipas, who will contest his second Grand Slam semi-final.
Well, after sports time, now to take a look at business and what's in store in our business segment. Well, the Reserve Bank of India will today announce its bi-monthly monetary policy. RBI Governor Shaktikant Das will address the media on the monetary policy. The recently constituted MPC began its 3-day deliberations on Wednesday, and expectations are running high that the central bank will maintain status quo on the benchmark lending rates. Earlier this week, the centre appointed Shashank Bhide, Jayant Verma and Ashima Goyal as the 3 external members of the Rate-Setting Monetary Policy Committee for a period of 4 years. The central bank also appointed Executive Director of RBI M. Rajeshwar Rao as the Deputy Governor of the Reserve Bank of India. While the RBI Governor Shaktikant Das will address the media on the monetary policy today at 10 a.m., the Monetary Policy Committee, that's the MPC of the Reserve Bank, began its 3-day deliberations on Wednesday amid expectations that the central bank will maintain the status quo on the benchmark lending rates. Worth mentioning here that this is the first time that the MPC meeting, which was earlier scheduled to be held during September 29th to October 1st, was cancelled as the government had not appointed the external members to the committee after the previous 3 committee members' term had expired. The government has now appointed 3 eminent economists, Ashima Goyal, Jayant Verma and Shashank Bhide, as members of the MPC headed by the RBI Governor.
And let's now go across to our correspondent Shama Mishra, who's joining us from Mumbai this morning. Shama, good morning. The monetary policy address expected at 10 this morning. It's going to be the 3rd bi-monthly monetary policy. What are the expectations?
It is expected largely that the RBI would be maintaining status quo given the fact that RBI has a tight situation over here. They also have to maintain the current growth given the fact that we are in a situation where the predictions are for the growth is that we are going to contract. On the other hand, the Reserve Bank of India's comfort zone's inflation rate is going out of hand. For the 5th straight time, we can say the inflation rate has and was above 6.9%. So this time around, RBI has to see that they have to maintain a check between, they have to maintain a balance between the growth rate as well as the inflation rate. Other than that, we have also seen that if this at this policy it would be maintained status quo, then this would be the 2nd straight policy decision after reducing 250 basis points since February 2019. So yes, large expectations from the around the market and industrialists. What would be the tone of the document? What would be the tone of the governor while he speaks for the announcement?
Okay, one quick word before I let you go, Shama. Looking at bad loans, considering most of the banks, especially, are looking at lesser bad loans. How do you see the MPC approaching bad loans in this particular bi-monthly monetary policy?
Exactly. That's what I said, that the industrialists as well as the markets would be looking at the tone and what the governor speaks. And time and again, governor has addressed all the issues, starting from the bad loans, restructuring of loans, and last time also we had seen that he had allowed that the MSME restructuring of loans would be allowed. He had given a green signal. So this time around also we are seeing, because the moratorium was given, but the 2nd or the 3rd statement for the moratorium has not come yet. But people are largely expecting that as well, that moratorium should be extended so that their loans should not be turned into bad loans. But yes, whenever this particular situation arises, he would be saying something on that.
Okay, so it's going to be interesting. Wait and watch on what the RBI governor is going to do. You'll have a busy day ahead. Thank you and appreciate you joining us this morning, Shama, there from Mumbai, giving us an update on the RBI governor's announcement expected
Absolutely.
shortly.
Yes, and with that, let's move on now to our next segment and get you the health story of the day. And today in a health story, we are focusing on a very important organ, that's liver. Well, that helps in fighting off the infections and the toxins in the body. And now let's understand as to how really a healthy liver is so essential for good and the overall health, and what are the ways to incorporate in our life to make the liver healthy and better.
A healthy liver is the way to a healthy digestive system. It helps in mobilizing energy, regulating fat storage and blood flow, leading to an improved metabolism and neutralizing toxins for elimination from the body. It is an organ which can easily be damaged if we don't take good care of it.
There are a lot of risk factors that affect the liver health, most commonly alcohol. Then there is a condition which is called as the non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which is a wide spectrum ranging from a simple fat in the liver which is called as steatosis to non-alcoholic steatohepatitis, and then it moves on and goes to chronic liver disease and the development of even hepatocellular carcinoma. So it's a spectrum. Apart from this, there are many cholestatic liver diseases. There could be pediatric conditions. There are viral diseases which affect the liver, like hepatitis B, hepatitis C, hepatitis E, A, and there is also a condition which we call as acute liver failure.
An unhealthy lifestyle along with unhealthy eating habits makes our liver accumulate too much of toxins and affects the liver gradually. Liver disease doesn't usually cause any obvious signs or symptoms until it is fairly advanced and the liver is damaged.
Even if we are not obese, still we are at a risk of developing this condition of fatty liver, and so we need to watch our diet and we need to minimize our overall calories, and that will come only when we cut down on the fats and the sugary foods and include more of the fresh fruits and vegetables, reduce more of the refined flour, go more for the fiber rich foods, focus more on taking high protein foods including the pulses and the cereals and the grains and milk products, which are important.
The best way to cleanse or enhance liver health is to remove toxic food from your diet. Taking precautions and following healthy lifestyle is the key to keep liver healthy. Kiran Bhardwaj, DD News.
So we wish that you take good care of your overall health, and we hope that of course the health stories help you focus more and better on the overall development of a good and healthy lifestyle. With that, let's move on now and take a look at the weather report for today. A low pressure area has formed over North Andaman Sea and neighborhood, and associated cyclonic circulation extends up to mid-tropospheric levels. It is very likely to concentrate into a depression over central Bay of Bengal during the next 24 hours. It is very likely to move west-northwestwards and cross North Andhra Pradesh and adjoining South Odisha coast as a depression around tomorrow afternoon or evening. Light to moderate rainfall at most places, with heavy to very heavy rainfall at isolated places very likely over Andaman and Nicobar Islands today, and heavy rainfall from 10th to the 12th. And a look now at the temperature in your city.
Well, we're just running out of time on this edition of Breakfast News. But remember, every day you've got to be thankful to someone. Today's World Post Day. You've got to be thankful to the postman who's come and delivered all those mails, especially in this pandemic times. So go out and thank them. What else do we have today in Watch Out, Nancy?
Well, absolutely very important. Before we go, here's a reminder. As Prime Minister Modi says, the fight against COVID has to be people's movement. It has to be your movement. It has to be everyone's movement, really, and make it a mass people's movement. Well, the fight is still on, so let's not really, be complacent about it. The season is changing and we must all be more careful for our own good. So let's leave you with the Mask Up campaign to create awareness against the COVID-19 pandemic, while it's a DD India and a DD News initiative.
Well, don't forget about that.
Yes,
remember, you've got to wear your mask at all times, and don't forget that wearing a mask is very important in today's times, because that's the only way we can take care and continue our fight against.
But and before, in fact, we say goodbye, we will not forget what we are telling you. We practice that ourselves as well. We keep wearing masks, we keep maintaining social distancing, we keep washing hands. Well, with that reminder, take good care of yourself, and we wish you a great day ahead. Thanks for being with us.
Don't forget to wear your mask.
Yeah.
Be a part of DD India campaign. Mask Up India. Share your stories of masking up with us on Facebook and Twitter.
Mask Up India.
Join our initiative to fight COVID-19. It's a simple task. Just wear a mask.
Mask Up India.
Mask Up India.